talking about the Captain America and Winter Soldier. So it's actually we talked about this before we start recording. Because we talked about the Winter Soldier and Falcon so much during the Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes. There's not a whole bunch of new stuff, but I do have a couple different cool things to bring up that's related to this movie. Did you know that this is considered um the best Marvel movie by most people?
I didn't know that. I don't really keep up with people's opinions on what the Marvel movies are, but I can see that. I
Really?
guess I really enjoyed it a lot. What about
Yeah,
you?
no.
You think that rings true, or
I don't know, no. Well, so most people would argue that this is the best Captain America movie, and most people would argue that this is their favorite Marvel movie.
I think
But
you like the first Captain America better, right?
I like the first Captain America better, and I also like Captain America Civil War better. By metric tons. I think Captain America Civil War is a fantastic movie. I had
What
so
I
much
will
fun
say
watching
is
that.
these Captain America movies hold up really well. I'm enjoying both of them so far, way more than I thought I would. And they're definitely, in my opinion, they're high points of the Marvel movies so far.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like when you look at if you look at two things, if you look at the acting and the directing, Captain America: The First Avenger was just kind of brilliant. But then Winter Soldier has the those brothers who directed what's the name?
Anthony and
Uh,
somebody Russo.
yeah, the Russo brothers. They directed Winter Soldier, and then they directed Civil War. And so when you look at sort of like the world building of the Marvel universe with the Avengers and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of work being done in Winter Soldier. And when you look at Civil War, it's even more work. And it's like I think Civil War is proof of concept that they could do something big like Infinity War and Endgame. I think that's why they got the movies. But you're right. The Captain America movies are just so entertaining, and you know you have to give all the props to Chris Evans in this. He's just a tremendous actor.
Yeah.
I don't know if this would have been successful without him, to be honest with you. But so much good stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm very
a
curious
lot
to
of the
see
movie
your
hinges
question.
on Chris Evans, so yeah.
Yeah, and also too, I think Anthony Mackie does a really good job as his first go around as Falcon. I still have some issues with Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow.
I
We
figured
definitely
you
have to
would say
speak on
that,
that.
but I'll tell you, man, I watched this last night, and seeing her in this movie has me super amped up for Black Widow. I'm
Really?
really looking forward to a movie with just Black Widow. Well, her as the main character anyway, because I thought she was fantastic in this movie. I mean,
What did you? So on a side note, what do you think of her wig in this movie?
uh,
It wasn't a good wig,
yeah,
right? It was very. Her hair was very thin. I don't know why they gave her this wig, and this like it's the biggest point of contention. Her hair doesn't look natural in this. It looks very flat.
mm-hmm.
I don't understand. Like it's just weird. Like, and if you look at the other movies, she has so much hair and has so much volume, and then this movie is just cool. Like weird. It's just a really small technical thing that probably no one cares about. But every time I see her, her hair is just weird. And there's so many different times where she's fighting, and like there's the scene on the boat where she's clearing the engine room,
Uh-huh.
and that's a great action scene. But then it shows her butt. If you have a 60, if you have a 55-inch screen, it takes up 40 inches of it.
Yeah, I noticed you
And I'm
saw
like,
you saw the butt shots in the previous, what was it, the first Avengers movie, I guess. And I didn't really notice them,
uh,
but I did notice that one butt shot of uh Scarlett Johansson in this movie. Yeah, it was pretty
maybe
clear.
maybe I'm looking for them. I don't know, but like it's just kind of like um. Anyway, I don't want to get into this
I
again.
mean,
I don't want because like
other than
it'll
that
just
one
ruin.
shot, which I'm not mad at, other than that one shot, nothing really stood out to me. Uh, but
Well, what about that one part where she's talking to Captain America and she's like that she just took out the disc from the candy machine or whatever, and like she says like she got shot by the Winter Soldier, and she's like no more bikinis or no more
bye bye
like something
bikini or something like
bikinis.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he's like, I bet you look good in a bikini, and I'm like, what? Like
Well, he's like,
Nick Fury just got shot to death.
I'm sure you look bad in them, you know, kind of sarcastic.
Yeah, something like that. It was very weird. It was very sexual twins. I was like, Captain America just got shot. I mean, Nick Fury just got shot. The government's after you. You know, like you just like, why are you caring about sex right now? It's just a weird thing to say.
Natural. Actually, I don't know.
No, I would not say it. I would not say, if I was in that situation. She says bye bikinis. I was like, I don't care about your bikini. All right, like tell me about the weird soldier. You know, like, it's like it's just very
Well,
it's very
like
weird.
It wasn't a high energy moment. You know, they had stepped aside. They were in a stairwell, having a little bit of a chat. I don't know.
But it is anyway. We're getting way sidetracked. I haven't got to your questions yet, so I apologize, listeners.
Well, we're gonna start out with some non-questions.
Yeah, listeners, real quick, listeners. I will be more on the Scarlett Johansson train in Civil War. Not much more, but a little bit more. Anyway, Mike.
Well, before then, we're gonna see Black Widow, which I'm sure is gonna get you fully on board. So
maybe we'll see.
We'll see.
Hopefully.
I mean, I hope it does. I'm really looking forward to that movie.
Me too.
Okay, so yeah, first up, we're going to start off with some non-questions. I just wanted to talk about how they introduced Falcon in this movie. I really enjoyed the way they play it. You know, it's not like a da 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 da. Here's Falcon. He's now in the MCU type thing. You know, at the beginning, it's just kind of the opening scenes of the movie where Anthony Mackie playing Sam Wilson is running around the Washington Mall. Is that what, am I calling it right?
Yeah, at the beginning he's walking down. I think he's walking down. He's running down. There's I forget, it's GW Parkway. There's a runway. There's a running area near GW Parkway you can run down. I live in Washington D.C., listeners, so that's probably why I know all this. Okay. But he's running down GW Parkway, and you can run down GW Parkway towards the Jefferson Memorial. Mm-hmm. Then it wraps around to you go over a bridge, and then it wraps to Lincoln Memorial, which you run into, and then he ran up the. I'm sorry, I hit my mic. Then he ran up towards the mall. So the running scene was actually pretty accurate. You can do that, and people do that all the time.
Okay. Yeah. So I just liked how, you know, at the beginning it seems like he's just a fill-in character. Like, you know, after that interaction with Captain America, maybe we never see this guy again. Maybe it's just maybe it's just scenes that are showing how personable Steve Rogers is and how he can get along with kind of the everyman. It's not a your typical superhero introduction type scene.
Yeah, there's a place where so he says on your left, you know, and that's a classic scene that people will say on your left for the rest of their lives. And then it's kind of interesting because Mackie, I'm sorry, Sam Wilson is running, and then you see someone running so fast past you, and he's not really phased that much. Like most people would stop and get their phone out and take a picture, but he's just still jogging. And then when he sees Steve Rogers, he's like, hey, you know, he makes fun of him a little bit, and then he knows who he is, and they talk. But then you see that scene where he like Steve Rogers gets ready to leave, and then Anthony kind of reaches out to him, and they kind of talk. And there's a lot of different ways you can introduce a black character into the show that would feel like farce, but this feels really natural to a point. There's a place where it feels unnatural to me. But there's lots of people in Washington, D.C. who used to work for the federal government, who used to be in the military. It wouldn't be that strange to meet someone from the military. The VA, you know, there's lots of VA places around. Captain America going to a VA to kind of meet somebody to talk to. I mean, all that stuff feels real to me. And it feels like Anthony Mackie's character is a real person. And like it just feels they have the two actors have chemistry together, and so everything works out in their favor. It kind of falls apart for me when after the attack, Black Widow and Captain America are attacked, and they have to go to a safe place, and they go to Sam Wilson's house. That still feels real. But then he's like, "This is my resume," and like he's like, "I need this flying suit," and I'm like, "Why do you need that flying suit? You don't really need it. Like." We don't need it. But they get it because they have to get him to be the Falcon. There could have been a couple different ways how that could have played out. But regardless, Anthony Mackie's character, Sam Wilson's character in this is just really well done. I think they did a good job with him.
That seemed like a better way to introduce the suit than most other ways, I guess, characters are introduced. I mean, Captain America and Black Widow needed help. He wanted to help. He had this
Yeah,
special skill that very few people have. So why not use that to help
yeah,
them
but
out?
like, yeah, but like okay. So the idea was we need a way to intimidate this guy. We no, first of all, it's like we need a way to get to this guy. We're wanted fugitives, but you're not.
Hmm.
And he's like, okay, I will put myself out there. But then I guess there was a moment where they had plans. So I'm just kind of I'm going to pantomime the plan. It's like we want to intimidate this guy. I'm going to kick him off the roof. Oh, I have a flying rig, and after you kick him off the roof, I'll pick him up, and then he'll be scared and he'll talk to us. Like that
Was that
seems
the
kind
whole
of
plan, or
convoluted.
was it? I don't know. Maybe that was
It's
the whole
kind of
plan. I thought it was more like the Falcon was helping them further than that, and that just happened to be something they could do since they already had this flying guy.
but yeah, but they didn't know what they needed before then. They didn't know they're going to need to attack these huge helicarriers.
Yeah.
They didn't know they needed them. So
Hmm.
I think I would preferred them not introduce the wings until like way later. Like I think maybe after they realize they have to attack the helicarriers, they could have said we need some kind of way to get up there. We don't have flying suits, and then Sam Wilson could be like, well, I have a flying suit.
Right.
So that could have been cool, but I think they wanted to introduce the flying suit
That's a
early.
fair point.
Um, yeah, but I mean, every hindsight's 2020. I'm sure they tested a zillion ways to introduce the flying suit, and that was the best way to do it for them. So it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
but I was actually, I was real side note. I was thinking about Anthony Mackie, the other day. I don't know why. I was like thinking about him in a like a. Remember him in Hurt Locker? Remember him in 8 Mile? Like
So that's
he's
exactly what I
had,
was getting ready to ask you. Is I don't remember him in anything. That was another question.
yeah,
Or something else that I liked about this is he's completely unknown to me until
okay,
this
yeah.
movie. And
He's
that's
been in a
another
lot of
reason it
stuff.
seemed to me like this guy at the beginning of the movie could just be basically an extra with some lines,
Yeah,
which I really
yeah,
liked
but
about it. I really liked how softly Falcon is introduced in this movie.
yeah, that's cool. But yeah, Anthony Mackie's been in a lot of stuff. More considerably, Hurt Locker, he was in there. That's won a bunch of
Yeah, I
awards.
never saw that.
And then some other movies too. But he wasn't completely unknown, but he wasn't the superstar he is now. Like he's Captain America now,
Right.
so it's like
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's kind of
it's so
incredible
strange.
knowing what we know now and rewatching this
Yeah,
movie that
yeah,
very
yes.
very soft introduction, and now he's Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is how it kind of should have been, and should be.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got?
All right. So yeah, like I said, we're going to start off with some non-questions. I gotta get the character's name right. Okay, when Sam Wilson is talking to Steve Rogers, he recommends a soundtrack to listen to, Trouble Man soundtrack by Marvin Gaye, which I actually listened to this morning while I was drinking my coffee before we started recording. That's a pretty good album, by the way. I don't know if you've ever listened to it.
I've listened to it like once or twice, but I need to get on vinyl. I don't have it.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever listened to it. Marvin Gaye apparently was not just a really good singer, but an incredible musician. I watched the 808 documentary, and for his big song, he apparently programmed all the drums in himself and everything. That soundtrack's
Hmm.
great. It's mostly music. It's very little Marvin Gaye singing. Um, but that just takes me like to the list. I've got the list down here. I wrote it down. Do you want to go through the list that Steve Rogers has and talk about anything on there?
You have the list. Go ahead, read it out to me. Yeah.
All right, so stop me as I go through this if there's something that catches your eye and you want to talk about. All right, so first on
Okay.
the list is I Love Lucy television.
Great show.
Yeah, great show.
Really funny.
Next up is the moon.
Lucille Ball's hilarious.
Yeah. Next up is the moon landing, which just
It
really
happened.
kind of
A true
a
fact.
true fact
true thing
and
that happened.
really illustrates how much Steve Rogers is missed, because
Yeah,
that's
Steve
really old
Rogers
for us.
probably. Yeah, Steve Rogers probably heard about the moon landing and was like, "No way."
Yeah, that's
Really?
mind blowing for
What?
him.
It's still mind blowing for me too. To be honest, and it's
Well,
mind blowing. We
hey,
don't
it
go back.
actually blows a lot
We
of
should go
people's
to the
minds
moon every
because there's
weekend.
all those people that believe it's fake.
Yeah, we have an education problem in this country.
Right. All right. He has a note about the Berlin Wall. Not only it
Mm-hmm.
coming down, but also it going up. So
Hmm.
his note is
That's funny.
Berlin Wall up and down.
Up, up and down. That's good. That's funny.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that day?
I remember it coming down. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like I was at home watching TV and it started happening. No, I was watching TV and they showed East Berliners being allowed to go to West Berlin, and I was like, that's weird. And then they started showing the wall going. I watched it all day, and my mom was like, "What are you watching?" I was like, "I'm
Oh,
watching the
wow.
Berlin Wall go down, Mom. It's a big historical event." And she's like, just rolled her eyes and walked off. Like I was a kid,
Right.
but I realized this was a once in a moment event that was a really important. That day will always be kind of like a big day for me. I don't
Yeah.
know why. It's just one of those weird memories.
Well,
Anyway,
that's
continue,
good.
please.
I don't have that deep of a memory about it. I just remember, it happening.
Right, keep
All
going.
right. Steve Jobs, Apple. That's a good
Hmm.
note to have, I think.
I know you like that.
Yeah. Disco, also a great
Hmm.
note. Steve needs to know about disco.
Yeah.
Thai food. My son was really excited to see Thai food on Steve's list of things to do.
Does your son like Thai food?
Yeah, he really likes pad see ew.
That's yeah, me too. I mean, whenever I get Thai food, I just get pad Thai, which
Pad
is
Thai.
like the lamest thing you can get.
Yeah, I think pad see ew is on its way of overtaking pad Thai as the default.
Yeah, those fat noodles,
default
right?
Thai
Those
dish.
fat
Yeah,
noodles are good.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Star Wars. He's got that crossed out. I assume that means he's watched.
He's watched them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also has Star Trek, but he hasn't done anything with that yet. Nirvana band next to it.
That's a good note.
Yeah, that's
I didn't know that. That's one of my favorite bands.
yeah, that's a great note. I'm a huge Nirvana fan, although I wasn't really at the time. I became a fan after Kurt Cobain's death. Really.
Hmm. I was a fan. I was a heavy fan.
I mean,
and I was in high school when he died.
yeah,
which was like,
they had their songs that I really liked, but I wasn't
yeah,
a big fan at the time. Rocky, and then Rocky 2,
great movie.
with a question mark next to it.
Great movie.
Yeah, and
Great movie.
then Trouble Man, the soundtrack.
That's a good list. Man, this list is great. This is fantastic.
Maybe we should do Steve Rogers' list sometime.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like a whole day of it. That kind of just highlights his character, and like Steve Rogers' character is just so. It's not pure altruism, but it just seems like he just seems like a nice guy. Like you would want to hang out with him and do things with him.
Right. Yeah, he's a good guy. He wants to do good things, and he won't stand. He won't be a part of things that are that he feels isn't good for all people.
He reminds me very much of Clark Kent. Like if you look at the Clark Kent Superman character and you look at the Captain America character, they're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like Batman has this raw anger and like he's just grumpy, and Spider-Man's like nervous and has some certain levels of anxiety. But Cap is like, let's just get it done. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now we're gonna get into the questions and stuff. All right. So.
Okay.
Early in this movie, Cap is invading a ship that has pirates aboard it.
Yep.
He kicks the bad guys, and they go flying. I had to go back a few times and watch that over and over again, because it's kind of comical how fast he kicks them off. The first guy he kicks, almost like a guy got hit by a cannonball and flies over the railing of the ship into the ocean.
There's a scene in that scene he's running and he just like nudges a guy and he flies off the boat real casual.
Yeah.
Like he just killed a guy basically. If you throw a guy off a boat like that, they're not going to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he's like, you're dead now, and they kept running. But yeah, are you asking like how he could do that, or did you just think that the super soldier serum?
Well, number one, that's just something that I loved about the movie. Just the kinetic fury of Captain America attacking that ship is amazing. The scenes were shot really well. But also, he seems a lot stronger in this movie than he did in the first Captain America. Maybe it's just because he's more experienced now. But also, how does that play into Cap's kind of what do you call it? The levels, power levels within the comics.
Power levels. I'm actually was watching the movie and I was like thinking about that. I think he has in the movie, he has probably 3 times the strength of, like, if you have a really strong guy who's like 250 all muscles, Steve Rogers is probably 3 times stronger than that. Maybe if he really pushed it, he could be about 4 times. And so, like, in that fight scene, this first, he really highlighted his fighting abilities. And I mean, this guy, if you look at the Steve Rogers before he got the serum, he really didn't study fighting. I'm sure he learned how to fight over time during the war. But I'm thinking that after he came out the ice, he's been training, and they showed him training a little bit in Avengers, in the first Avengers movie when he's punching the punching bag. So I think that he's just been training a whole bunch, and his shield work is also very advanced. So you have him kind of studying his martial arts, studying his training, and also kind of like just. And you're right, he's utilizing his super soldier strength a lot more, which is interesting because when you get to that fight with the Leaper, the French guy, when he was like fighting him 1-on-1, that guy's super strong probably, but Cap was not really being hurt by him that much, but he was having a hard time like putting him down.
Well, my son commented on that, on how Cap should be able to take out this guy no problem because the other guy doesn't have any kind of super abilities.
But he's thick. He's a big dude.
He's a big guy.
And he's probably fought a lot. He's been trained. He's been tempered by all his stuff. So like, if you're fighting someone who's 3 times your strength, and you're pretty big, then the odds might be like, instead of 3 times, he might be 2 times.
Also, he caught Cap completely off guard for the first 2 seconds of the fight, at least.
And most people, I would say, the Leaper could have fought most people in one.
Oh yeah,
but Captain America was able to take him down relatively quickly. So I mean,
once he wasn't surprised anymore about the fight, like he was taking punches like a statue. You know, he wasn't really fazed by the guy hitting him that much. Like he gets hit
so
pretty hard by the guy one time, and he just kind of stands there, you know, and then he pretty quickly takes him out.
Yeah. So to your son's point, Captain America just can't punch everybody. Like, even like, if you're Captain America, you probably don't use all your strength on one punch because you're worried about breaking people's faces off.
Right.
So he might, he might be holding back a little bit here and there. So, yeah, that's a really good point. I need to put the leper, the guy he was fighting, the Leaper, is an actual villain. I need to put him in the show notes. But he is an actual villain, and he is a French villain, and his costume is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, interestingly, he doesn't make the top cast on IMDb, so I'm not looking at him right now. But I do know that's he goes by GSP, which are his initials. His name's I hope I pronounce this right, Georges St-Pierre, and he is a very popular MMA fighter.
The actor, right?
Now an actor. Yeah, he does mostly acting now, but he was like one of the, I think, original showcase names in MMA.
That's a good point. I don't know. Like, he was also in the Falcon and Winter Soldier too, if you remember.
Yeah, I do. I didn't remember him being in this when I was watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, but when I was watching this, I definitely tied that back to Falcon and Winter Soldier.
He's fine. I mean, I don't think he's my favorite actor or even villain in the comics, but he's fine. Yeah. It's a nice little call out that he was in there, but it's not the big deal.
His Frenchness is more evident in Falcon and Winter Soldier than it is in here.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Which I liked. Okay, all right. So now we're getting into a little bit of Steve Rogers, just general goodness. So he finds out. Well, all right. So Nick Fury gets maybe this happens before that, actually. When does Nick Fury kind of reveal his grand plan to Steve Rogers? Is that before or after he got attacked?
After the boat's attacked, we see that Black Widow is trying to hack some stuff off the drive, which she wasn't supposed to do.
Yeah, right.
Steve gets mad. He goes to
she
Nick
could
Fury.
have she could have risked all of the hostages' lives by doing that and going off mission. That's why.
But then Nick Fury says, "That's why I brought you, to make sure that doesn't happen." And to be honest with you, Steve is very kind of immature in this regard. Like, he's just like, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I know I'm a little mad that Black Widow is doing something I didn't know she was going to be doing, but I understand. Like, it's fine. All the hostages are okay. Everything's fine. It's just like, it's just like, I don't know.
It's his mission. He's the leader of the mission. He should know everything that's going on.
He thought he was, but he wasn't,
Yeah. Well, he is. Yeah. So, all right. So that's when Nick Fury shows him his grand plans, and his grand plans are, I've got 5 helicarriers, basically, something like that.
Not only that, but they're under the Potomac, and like, just okay. We don't have. There's never been a construction project like that in the history of mankind. There might have been, like, if you. Well, okay. Well, if you look at the Hoover Dam, let's look at the Hoover Dam for a moment. That might be as close to what the government has done. And yeah, the government might have something like that, some major, huge base somewhere, but I seriously doubt it. And like, how much would that cost? Yeah. The raw materials alone. And if they did have a base like that, they'd have to hire thousands of workers to maintain it and to build it.
Jarvis.
What's that?
Sliding those panels away and all the water draining out before the helicarriers launch is super cool.
It is super cool, but it is also an achievement unlike anything we could ever fathom.
Right.
Like, and I live in DC, so like,
keeping it secret.
That Potomac River's gross. It's like absolutely gross. And like, we would know if there's some massive. We would know if there's some massive, huge underwater base that holds these huge helicarriers. And like, Nick Fury said these guns on these helicarriers can kill 1,000 hostiles in a minute or something like that. I'm like, what kind of situation are we in where we have to kill 1,000 people in a minute?
Exactly. That's also what Steve Rogers is thinking. You, me, Steve Rogers, we're all thinking the same thing.
Yeah, why you need to, like, if you're building the helicarriers to fight another alien invasion, yes, we need these. But if you're building these things just to like monitor like Al Qaeda in a cave in Afghanistan, like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah, they're not really designed for space combat. They're designed for
domestic.
Being over the planet and laying waste to human targets on the ground.
And okay, so Nick Fury says these devices are going to keep us safe, right? Mm-hmm. But Hydra is inside Shield, so they're going to take it over. We know that.
They don't really.
But at some point, but at some point, someone at a meeting says, "Hey, Nick, we see your specs here. You want to create devices that will scan DNA, and then you want to be able to program these guns to shoot people based off of certain preferences you type in a computer." Yes, that is what I want. Mm-hmm. Like, Nick Fury's got a big problem. He built these things. He knows what these things could do, and like, he just let them exist. Like, you just don't know. Yeah. Like,
I don't know if he's like this in the comics, but in the movies, Nick Fury, he's not a good guy. He's a guy that wants to protect America chiefly, but Earth, I guess, is a secondary mission. And he's basically willing to do anything it takes to get that done. He doesn't have a whole lot of scruples or morals about was it collateral damage?
No, you're right. And as a side note, he, like the Nick Fury that you and I know, will soon become a Nick Fury that will be in charge of not only protecting the world, but also the galaxy. So just stay tuned for that.
So is he like that in the comics, or is that more?
100%. Yeah, 100%. And a lot of people like that too, me included. There are times where I'm thinking about the world and I think someone needs to make the hard decisions because no one's willing to do that. But
but I'm with Steve. This is a hard decision that shouldn't have been made.
No, 100. No, not at all. And then Nick Fury is shocked. He's absolutely shocked that someone took it over and now is going to use it for badness. Like it's
Right.
like okay.
Yeah, that should have
It's
been
like,
part of the design discussions. So
yeah,
I have a quote here from Steve Rogers after he finds out about this insane plan that Nick Fury has. Steve says to Nick, he says, "By holding a gun to everyone on Earth, you're calling it protection."
yeah,
That's a good quote. It
really pro.
really goes to Steve's character. Um, and then later he says, "This isn't freedom; it's fear."
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Fury says, Cap, at some point you're going to have to get on the bandwagon on this one and join up. And Steve says, "Don't hold your breath."
Yeah, it's like the last vintages of the Bush era terrorist kind of stuff. And this movie's the last one that we'll have where the idea of a generic terrorist threat is something that that we need to discuss as culturally. Like we are, like, they won't, and like just as a people, it's 2021 now. Most of our discussions as a people are about like climate change, pandemics, and also domestic issues as far as domestic terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
And so the movie actually kind of takes that transition. At first, it's just generic terrorism, but then we find out the villains are in our backyard. And so I think the movie transitions very, very, very nicely from hey, we're fighting like random 10 rings terrorists, Arabic terrorists from Iron Man 1 to now the very systems that we've put in place to protect ourselves are being taken over or are really controlled by the villains. So
Yeah,
good stuff.
we talked earlier in earlier podcasts about how the future Captain America movies would have. You've had a point that Shield and all this stuff is too much about the stereotypical villains of the day, the terrorists, to use a Bushism. I think that this movie's really good commentary on how our response to 9/11 was in the wrong direction. So we were going after the wrong people that weren't involved in attacking us, and overblown. Like we took it too far, and we eliminated freedoms in the process. That's the commentary that I get out of this, and that's kind of what Steve Rogers is telling Nick Fury here. And then by the end of the movie, Shield is gone, basically at Steve Rogers' command, and all these helicarriers are destroyed, and it's kind of the end of the MCU's using like the global terrorist threat as a bad guy or something like that, or something to fight against.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. 100%. I could talk all day about pre and post 9/11 U.S. policy, foreign and domestic, as far as leading up to the attacks from the World Trade Center. But I'm not going to do that.
Right. I will just say that I would like to see the way Shield was dismantled in this movie. I would like to see the Department of Homeland Security similarly dismantled and return back to something closer to what we had before our completely unrealistic response to 9/11.
Never going to happen.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, I know.
Ever. No. And like as a side note too, there's no way a bureaucracy as Shield would ever just be completely dismantled. It's like, nah. It's too much money, too much stuff, too many jobs.
Yeah.
But it's nice. It's nice fantasy.
Yeah, the job creation is the thing that really keeps things like
thousands
that
of jobs,
even when everybody knows it's a bad idea, but it creates jobs. We gotta keep it going.
Thousands. There's a scene when the helicarrier doors begin to open. There's this black dude in a tan suit who's running towards the command center. He's like, "Close the doors! Close the doors!" I'm like, this guy's fat, overweight, has to be in his 50s, but his job is to like tell people to like, how'd you get this job? It's like he's not wearing a uniform. He's just like a regular guy in a tan suit. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I will always think about this. Like, hey, who are you exactly? Like, why?
There's a
why
guy.
are you in
There's a
charge
guy
of the doors
just like that on the tanks building the tanks that we don't need anymore. All that stuff.
Yeah. Well, you have to like Louisiana needs jobs, man. So you gotta build those tanks and then let them sit in the warehouse.
Yeah. Okay.
Next question.
So, and this is something maybe it's not from the comics, but maybe you can figure this out, and I just couldn't. Fury's trying to decrypt the thumb drive and figure out what's on it. This is the thumb drive that he had Black Widow steal from the ship while Steve Rogers, Captain America, was rescuing people. He can't decrypt it, and the computer says, "I can't decrypt it." Well, he asks the computer, "Whose authorization?" And the computer says, "Nick Fury's authorization." What the heck is going on there?
So I'm not. So okay. So I'm going to try to work it out in my head. So apparently, Hydra is doing some backdoor stuff behind Nick Fury's back. Nick Fury has certain authorizations, and so someone has been able to use Nick Fury's passcodes or information to encrypt things behind his back. And it's a major mistake on Hydra's part that all of a sudden, like, it's a major mistake that this boat has information in it that Hydra needs. It's a major mistake that Nick Fury has gotten it. And it's a major mistake now that Nick Fury understands that it's been encrypted, right? And that's why all of a sudden Hydra attacks him.
Okay, I see.
I'm not sure who made that.
So the computer saying Nick Fury's authorization is why I can't decrypt this is basically the screenwriter's way of saying somebody's in SHIELD. They've used Nick Fury's credentials to lock this file down, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this whole scene is like I'm in the tech industry, okay? So this whole scene isn't how encryption works. Like him talking to the computer and him saying, "Hey, use my credentials." That's not how it works. If they had actually written this with a consultant that explained how encryption works, they could have done it where it's more obvious to viewers that don't understand any of this stuff why Nick Fury gets concerned after that, because I didn't get it until you just explained it. But if they had done it just the way it actually really works, it would have been more evident.
So what would that? So are you talking about two-factor authorization?
Well,
what are we talking about here?
Encryption keys, you have decryption keys. So somebody would have gotten the encryption keys that Nick Fury uses for files, and they would have used it on this file, and that's why he can't, or it can't be decrypted. So I don't know.
Yeah, and it's a major. I mean, okay, so Hydra's been around since World War II, inside of Shield, hiding in Shield.
Yeah.
Using they have
since the very beginning.
Yes. They have the Winter Soldier in a safe somewhere that they unfreeze every once in a while to assassinate politicians and Iron Man's father. But then some weird dude, some guy who just probably got his job yesterday, made a mistake of encrypting a file with Nick Fury's codes or whatever, and then Nick Fury found them. Like, that's a huge mistake, especially with something that's about to happen.
Right.
Like, that's a random mistake too. Like that boat was hijacked by the French terrorists, and then Nick Fury took it. But then Nick Fury wanted to get some files that were on the boat, and then all of a sudden he wasn't even supposed to get those files. So if the boat wasn't hijacked, he never would have got the files, which kind of makes sense. But at the same time, like, someone got shot, like some Hydra agent who made a mistake got killed because, like, thanks, years of planning, and now Nick Fury knows what we're doing. Thanks a lot.
Right. Later in the movie, somebody implies that Nick Fury paid the hijackers to hijack that ship. Do you think that's a diversion, or do you think that's what really happened?
No, I don't think that happened at all. Okay. I think that's a diversion.
All right. Okay, so shortly after this, Nick Fury gets attacked in a pretty big street battle sequence. It was actually pretty cool for the most part.
Yeah, those are actual DC police cars. That was not DC, but that was actually DC police cars.
Oh, cool. The paint job on them.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of this, though, we get a big reveal of the Winter Soldier.
Yep.
Did you know right away that it was Bucky?
Yep.
Okay.
because I read comics.
Right.
Everybody knew.
Do you want to talk about Bucky and the Winter Soldier a little bit right now?
Yeah, so I think I don't know how much I said about this in Falcon and Winter Soldier. It seems like so long ago. That was our first podcast, so it's like been a while. Um, but Bucky was initially hired as a secret agent to assassinate and do black ops for the American government, and he was Captain America's sidekick. But so Captain America during World War II would go out, be the hero, but then Bucky would go out and then like he's the guy who would torture people and slit throats.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the guy who stopped the attack. Like when the planes went off, Captain America and Bucky jumped on the plane, but then Bucky's the one who actually detonated the plane and saved a bunch of people's lives. And like I said before, Bucky was always the one who everybody in the comics said he's dead, he's never going to come back. No one's ever going to bring Bucky back. But then they did. They did bring Bucky back as
In the
the
comics.
in the comics as the Winter Soldier. In the comics, it played out that he's the Winter Soldier, and then Captain America realized who he was, and there was some back and forth, and there was some Hydra stuff going on, and then eventually, Captain America would be killed by time bullets. And it's a long story, but then Bucky would actually take over as Captain America for a time. Yeah, time. I don't even want to get into it. It's, when we talk about Civil War, we'll get into time bullets.
Okay.
So yeah, everybody who read the comics, as soon as they saw in the trailers, they saw the Winter Soldier with the metal arm, we all knew it was Bucky. Did you know it was Bucky?
I'm thinking back to my first time watching this. I'm pretty sure I had no idea who it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I think now that Bucky is in the comics and now that Bucky is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't know how we don't have him. Like I used to be grumpy about it, but now I'm fine with it now. I think that they handled him pretty well. I wish they would have answered some more questions because like he has a super soldier serum in him. Like how did they make it? Like I'm assuming Zola made it. But there's a couple of different questions. But I like the idea that as Captain America was frozen for a long period of time, Bucky was frozen and unfrozen and being mentally tortured and doing all these bad things.
Having his brain wiped routinely.
Yeah, his brain was wiped. Yeah, imagine all the. I mean, the character is a tragic character. Like when you look at his evolution from the Winter Soldier to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think they've done a pretty solid job, man. And I like how they handled Bucky in Falcon and Winter Soldier. This like tragic character, this guy who's out of time, out of place, doesn't really know who he is. And now he's like kind of in a good place. So yeah, I like there's not much more to talk about with the Winter Soldier except that I think if anything this movie did a really good job establishing him and working with him, and I think they always have. I think the actor did a great job with him. Everybody like the Winter Soldier is not a problem for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not at all.
Okay.
And the actor's name is Sebastian Stan. Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. All right. So I've got to ask you. So when I'm watching this movie, I don't know who Bucky is. Well, I know who Bucky is from the earlier movie, but I don't know who the Winter Soldier is. I don't know that that's Bucky. It's a reveal later in the movie. How did you feel watching this where your knowledge of the comics has effectively already spoiled that reveal for you that happens later in the movie? Are you still psyched just because you know that it's Bucky, or are you a little bit let down because you don't get to experience the reveal the way a lot of other people did?
That's a really, really good question. I wish that, of course, I didn't know. So when the mask comes off, I'm like completely blown away. I did watch The Winter Soldier in theaters, and when that happened, there were people next to me gasping, and there was a woman next to me. She's like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, do you not read comic books? I want to say that. And there's nothing Marvel can really do about it. I think Marvel's game plan is the fans are going to love this because it's going to be the Winter Soldier. They go and I think part of it too is there's other things that the movies can play with. because we already know, like when this movie came out, we already know that Captain America might die. We already know that Winter Soldier might take over for Cap. So we're looking for places to think, okay, is this where the Winter Soldier might become Captain America and all this other stuff? But there's nothing really you can do about it. If you read a lot of comic books, you already have all these plots done. The only thing that I think it was more interesting from a comic book reader's perspective is Shield being disillusioned. That never happened in comic books. That was like Shield's always been in the comics. And when we find out that Hydra was in Shield and then Shield just goes away, I felt a loss. And it was a weird, it was a weird feeling. I was like, Shield is in the comics. It's always been in the comics.
Mm.
And now it's gone. Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is much different than the actual Marvel Universe now.
Yeah.
And that was a place where I feel like, yeah, I knew that Bucky was going to be Winter Soldier, but I didn't know that they were going to scrap down to the bottom Shield. Like, and it hasn't returned. Like, Shield's still gone, you know. And so I think the Marvel movies do a good job balancing in between here's what you think you know versus what we're going to do to surprise you. And there's other things that they do in other movies to do the same thing.
Right. Okay. So you're still surprised. That's good. Not as much as me, but still some surprises.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in the first Captain America movie, parkour hasn't been invented yet. But in this Captain America movie, it's in modern times. Parkour has been invented, and it appears that Steve Rogers has learned some of it because there's my note is superhero parkour. There's some.
Well, he's running over the buildings, chasing Winter Soldier.
I think there's a little bit like on the ship. There's some during that chase sequence on the top of the buildings. Yeah, there's just like some parkour type moves that Steve busts out through this movie, and they're amped up because he's a super human basically. So it's like, amped up parkour, and it's pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I took it for granted. When you read comics, superheroes travel like that all the time. So like superheroes travel over rooftops. That's what they do. So Captain America jumping from a build like rooftop to rooftop and doing superhero parkour, which is now the official term for superhero movement. It's kind of it's kind of typical. It's so funny. It's so funny to hear you say that. 'Cause I just take it for granted. Like, well, of course, how else is Captain America going to travel?
Right. Well, there wasn't really anything like that stood out in the first Captain America movie. So I don't know if they I don't know if they planned that or if I'm just connecting the dots that when the original Captain America was set, parkour hadn't yet been invented by David Belle in Paris yet. But
but see, okay, what date did that happen? What date did parkour?
I think David Belle's about our age. He invented it as a teenager in Paris. His dad was in the military, and he got it kind of from his dad's, taking his dad's military agility training, I guess, and taking it into an urban setting.
Yeah, but like Spider-Man was doing that in the comics in the 60s. And so was Daredevil, Batman. Like,
right.
So yeah. So in the comics,
I was imagining doing it when I was in elementary school, but I just never did, and I never saw anybody do it until David Belle kind of.
I think if you look at parkour as a stylized version of that with certain kind of techniques that are effective, 100%. But if you look at superhero parkour, that's just been around for such a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Such an interesting term. I never would have thought about that.
Right.
I watched some Netflix Daredevil last night, and first, great series. Have you ever watched it?
Yeah, it's really good. Or
yeah, so great.
Is it still going?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's canceled.
No, they canceled. Yeah. They did 3 seasons. And he did some superhero parkour last night, and I was like, man, I wish I could do that. I wish I was 20 years younger and way fit.
Yeah, exactly. I wish that when I was imagining doing all that stuff when I was a kid, I was actually trying to do some of it. It just didn't seem.
Yeah.
It didn't seem humanly possible when I was imagining it. You know.
No, and it's not humanly. Like most people would die from that kind of stuff.
So yeah, you have to be in really good shape. And I guess it can help get you into really good shape, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So
So
what you got?
in this one, Zola makes a comeback. Zola was the assistant to the Red
Red Skull.
Skull in the first Captain America movie. In this one, Zola's trapped inside of a computer that he put his brain into.
Yep.
And he's working. He's a Hydra operative still, but he's working at Shield.
Yes.
Does that same thing happen in the comics?
No. Not at all. So Zola does he puts his head into a machine. So we've already talked about him kind of, I think, a little bit.
Which is why his introduction shot in the first Captain America movie it looks like he's in a machine, but it's really just a magnifying glass in his eye.
Yeah, and they did a good job in the Winter Soldier, put him in a box like that. That was good. But no, so Alexander Pierce, who Robert Redford plays, he was a Shield agent, but he wasn't a bad guy. Hydra was never integrated in the Shield like that. That was all from the movies. There is a thing though where, and I'll put this in the show notes. There's a thing where Captain America was a Hydra agent. It gets really complicated, but it's hard to explain. But there was a time where someone used the cosmic cube to create a false version of Captain America.
And that was really that comic was really recent because I actually remember people
really recent
about it.
Yeah, really recent. So that's like a new kind of thing. But no, all that stuff's just straight from the movies, all of it, which I think is cool, 100%. And if you notice too, Zola does say that Hydra killed Iron Man's father, Howard Stark, and that's going to play in the Civil War, which is going to be a big deal.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought that was all pretty fascinating. That Zola,
it's clever. No, it's super clever. I'm really glad the movie did that because it's completely different than the comics. It's doing some new stuff, and I really appreciate it 100%. Yeah.
One thing that I didn't really get was, so in that scene where we see Zola, he's stalling. He's talking to Captain America and Black Widow, and he's stalling. Well, what he's stalling for is a missile that's incoming and is going to blow up the bunker that all three of them are in, which was launched by Hydra or Shield.
It was launched. So you should think when you think about Hydra and Shield, you should think that Hydra controls Shield. So
right,
like there is no real Shield. Hydra controls it all over. Like Hydra completely controls Shield.
I mean, almost right. They're deeply
I would say like I would
Fury was in theory the highest ranking Shield officer, right?
No, Alexander Pierce was the guy in charge of all of it.
Yeah, he was like oversight.
Yeah, and then you had people all in it. So like if you look at if you look at the federal government, for example, a president can be in charge of the federal government, but the entire government has many different people all through it. But so as we've recently learned the last 4 years ago, if you have someone in charge of the federal government who has malintent, it could wreak havoc, even though you have some people trying to stop it inside. So
right. Okay. All right. So the thing I don't get is, regardless of whether Hydra or Shield launched the missile, we'll say Hydra Shield launched the missile. Why is Zola stalling them until it hits? Like, I mean, does he want to end his life? I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Captain America and Black Widow know things that if it goes public, it will ruin Hydra's plans. And Hydra has a chance to kill him, and the only way to do that is to shoot a missile. So either A, Zola could have launched the missile himself, or B, once they put the drive in, Shield/Hydra would have known that they're there and then destroyed it.
Right.
But either way, I mean, if you're Zola, like you're a computer program, like you're stuck in this warehouse. Who knows what consciousness was like back then, like for him.
Right.
So I'm sure he didn't really mind, blowing up at a certain point. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I was thinking. Maybe he's just so miserable that he's like, here's a good time. Let's end it here. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can have a long discussion about artificial intelligence and what is the actual role of consciousness, but we don't really have time. And this podcast is already running pretty long.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right. I may have this note down out of order, but anyway, so when we learned that Sam Wilson did some wingsuit work in the military,
Mhm.
the I guess the project name on the outside of the folder says EXO-7 Falcon, EXO-7 Falcon. Is that a callback to anything from the comics?
Not that I know. I mean, the Falcon stuff is so as a superhero, Sam Wilson in the comics called himself the Falcon. And in the comics, Sam Wilson got his wings from Wakanda from the Black Panther. So no, that's not a callback. I mean, I think it's a modern day combat. And now that I think about it, the Ultimate comics, we've talked about how there's a main Marvel universe and then the Ultimate Marvel universe. In the Ultimate comics, the Sam Wilson from the movies is more like the Ultimate comics. He was like just a military soldier type dude. But in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the 1616 universe, he's completely different. So no, that's no callbacks, but if you're looking at the Sam Wilson character, he's definitely the ultimate version of Sam Wilson.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I've got a note. Hail Hydra. I don't know what I was thinking about talking about with that, but does it make you want to say anything?
Not really. I mean, that's the callback. That's what they call each other. In the first Captain America movie, they would yell "Hell Hydra," but now they whisper it to each other, which is really bold.
Yeah.
It's like there's a definitely group of people in our society who understand what Hydra is and are pledging allegiance to it.
Right.
So that when they whisper the hell Hydra to each other in the ear, I was like, this is kind of spooky. And if you look at what Hydra represents and what it stands for, this is terrifying. And it's kind of terrifying that this movie came out before we had some interesting problems with domestic terrorism and stuff like this.
Right.
It's almost like they were kind of like previewing it. That's even more terrifying.
Yeah, I guess I just had that note because we have Senator Gary Shandling in this movie again. That's not his
Hmm.
character's name. I can't remember his character's name, but it's Gary Shandling playing a senator, and it's the same senator that was giving Iron Man a hard time in those movies.
Yeah, nice pickup. Excellent. Yep,
And
same guy. And it turns out he was a bad guy the whole
yeah,
time.
well, I mean, yeah, he was he was a bad guy the whole time, but also he's a member of Hydra.
Yeah. No, yeah. The biggest bad guy you could possibly find.
Right. Okay, so that's all I've got until we talk about the post credit scene. Is there anything else you want to bring up?
So much. It's so much, so much. We see Sharon Carter for the first time, like Captain America's neighbor.
Yeah, she goes by Kate.
Yeah, but that's not her name. Her name is
That's her
Sharon
cover
Carter.
name.
Yeah,
We do hear
completely
from Black
wasted in
Widow
this.
late in the movie when Steve Rogers says, uh, Natasha is trying to set Steve up with his neighbor as a date throughout the movie at a few different points, and Steve says, "So what was her name again?" And that's when Natasha says Sharon.
Yeah. So she's completely wasted because Sharon Carter from the comics is the best, most awesome agent you could possibly find, and Marvel doesn't
Really?
know what to do
Okay.
with her.
Hmm.
Like the movies do not know what to do with Sharon Carter because they don't do her justice in this movie. They don't do it justice in Civil War. They don't do it justice in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
Like, I
I'll
don't.
say
Like, I don't
I completely agree with you. Not because I agree that she's wasted, because I wouldn't know how that character is in the comics, but they apparently wasted her so much that I didn't really remember her at all when it came around to watch the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So
so this wasted on an unbelievable. I mean, Emily Van Camp. I guess she's a good actress. That's fine, but
mhm.
I don't know. They just don't know what to do. And in the comics, Sharon Carter is a huge character. Like Captain America and her have a relationship, and like I don't know,
Really?
whatever. Yeah. It's
See,
it's
okay, so
like
here's
not
something I thought
dating.
was kind of creepy in this movie is that so throughout the whole movie, uh, Black Widow, Natasha, is trying to set up Steve, with Sharon as on a date, which Steve was madly in love with Peggy Carter.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems creepy that Natasha's trying to set him up on a date with Sharon Carter.
Well, she didn't know that Sharon Carter. She probably didn't know that Sharon Carter and Peggy Carter are related, and I don't think. I think if
Oh
Steve
yeah,
knew
yeah. I
that,
guess you're right. It's creepy from my perspective, but not from Natasha's, because Natasha
yeah,
asked him when they were in the bunker, "Who's that woman that
yeah,
Steve was staring at the picture of Peggy Carter on the wall?"
yeah. They don't know those connections. And two, I mean, Peggy Carter, she's still alive, but she's like 90 something years old at this
And
point.
has
Um,
Alzheimer's.
yeah, so it's like you gotta move on at some point.
Yeah.
Um, but like, okay, so I was thinking about this when I watched the movie, rewatched the movie. If you take Black Widow, Maria Hill, and Sharon Carter, right?
Okay.
I am a writer for this movie,
Uh-huh.
and I see that we have 3 female characters in this movie.
Right.
I think that's awesome. 2 of them, Maria Hill and Sharon Carter, are not being used at all, right? Why? So in my fantasies, Black Widow gone. Maria Hill takes the Black Widow role, and then Sharon Carter moves into the movie, maybe taking the Maria Hill role, right? I mean, imagine a movie where Maria Hill does all these cool things with Captain America. Like, it's just
Does
it
that
will
line
have
up with the
worked.
comics? Like they're standing in the comics, Black Widow, Maria Hill, and Sharon Carter?
What do you mean? What do you mean standing?
So you're eliminating Black Widow from this movie at all in your fantasy rewrite?
Yes, mostly because of the wig.
Okay, so it's not that Black Widow isn't a big character in the comics, or at least
She's a huge character in comics.
Okay.
I was thinking, like, the only reason she's in the movie is because when they need Scarlett Johansson, they need that super triple A actor, and I dig that, but
Man, you really have an end for
I don't
Black
think.
Widow. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a thing. But okay, so let's take Maria Hill and Sharon Carter. They could have easily eliminated the Maria Hill character and just had Sharon Carter take that role.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need Sharon Carter to be Captain America's neighbor to guard Captain America, who is Captain America, who doesn't need a guard.
Right.
You know?
Well,
So
it's like I don't know. Have you seen the paparazzi photos of like Dave Bautista with one of his bodyguards?
yeah, it's hilarious. It's really funny.
Yeah.
No, it's just it's like at some point, like there's some point someone needs to walk into one of these meetings and be like, we need to tone this down. and I guess it just didn't happen. So that's one thing that we missed. Another thing you might have missed is that one of the villains in this story, Romlo. Do you remember the guy Romlo? He was like one of the agents. He had black hair.
Romlo.
He fought.
He's the
Romlo.
At the beginning of the movie, he's kind of friendly with Captain America. They're on missions together, and then it turns out he's a Hydra agent.
Yeah. So in the comics, he's actually an agent for the Red Skull, and his name is Crossbones. So we'll see him again in Civil War. But I think he's excellent. I think he was a great Crossbones in this. I think he did a really good job. Okay. I mean, Frank Grillo is his name. I thought he did a really fantastic job.
Yeah, that's the actor's name. It's hard to. Frank Grillo sounds like a comic book character, so it's yeah.
Yeah. So Romlo's really cool. I always liked Crossbones in the comics for some really weird reason. I don't know why. I just did. That's kind of pretty much it as far as all the comic connections. I already said that Alexandra Pierce is really in the comics, 100%. That's about it. There is one more thing. So when Nick Fury gets killed, they used to have these things called like they used to have these shield robots. I forget what they call now. I have to look up the term for it. But it's called live action robots or live action copies or something like that. I'm sure I'm getting this completely butchered. But in the comics, like there would be these robots who would be lifelike, and they would so Nick Fury would get killed, but it turned out that it was a lifelike dummy, and it happened all the time. So they didn't do it in the comics, in the movie, of course, but I think it would have been a cool thing to have that happen. I think
does it happen?
It's not really a callback
with Nick Fury in the comics, or just
people? Oh yeah, all the time. Like you never know. Like there was a scene in a comic where someone was like, "Is this really you, or is this one of your copies?" And he's like, "Well, you don't know, and it's none of your business." So it's like it's kind of a comic thing.
He's
but
not a good guy.
That's just
Nick Fury.
Nick Fury is Nick Fury.
Yeah.
I think that Samuel Jackson does a great job acting like Nick. I think Samuel Jackson does a good job.
Samuel L. Jackson did a good job in Snakes on a Plane.
That's true.
So he's never not done a good job.
It's true.
All right, so
that's it. Really?
Yeah, that's it. But at some point in the future, we're going to do a best battle scenes of the MCU, and right now, one of those scenes on my list is going to be the elevator scene from this movie.
Yeah, it has to be. It's iconic. Like, that scene's amazing. You know. And so it is comic. It is comic related, where Captain America jumps out the elevator and then uses a shield to break his fall. That happens in the comics several times. And it's always awesome every time you see it, because it kind of highlights how strong the shield is.
Right.
So again, I have a comic where that happens, where he gets tossed off a 3-story building and he lands on the shield, and it's like, wow, that shield's cool, you know?
Yeah, vibranium.
So, again, yeah, vibranium. Or in the comics, it's a steel vibranium alloy, but you know, in here it's vibranium.
Right. But even though it's vibranium shield that he's landing on to save himself, he felt it.
He definitely felt that hit, you know.
Right.
And the scene where he drives the motorcycle out, and then the Quinjet just trying to stop him, and he, you know, beats up a Quinjet is just amazing.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, that is pure Captain America. Just like, you know, skilled. Nothing can stop him. He knows what's right. No one else knows what's right. Good stuff. And the Winter Soldier is up there. If at some point we'll have to do our top. We'll do our top 5 Marvel movies. We'll have a list and we'll talk about it. But this is up there. This will be in my top 5.
Even though it has Black Widow in it, it's still going to be in your top 5.
Black Widow. It's nothing we can do.
I really hope that you're turned around with Black Widow when the movie comes out.
Me too. We'll have to wait to see. It's not Scarlett Johansson's fault, and it's not the character's fault. It's how the directors and the writers handle her.
Right.
It's just, that's it. Like, we'll see her used. We'll see Black Widow properly. We'll see her in the last few movies, especially when it comes to Endgame.
So you do,
we'll finally get
to like the character towards the end of at least the MCU movies that have been shot so far.
Yeah, you'll start to But I mean, again, I don't think that the directors can stop showing Scarlett Johansson's butt whenever they can. It's just
I'm pretty sure that's going to be in the new Black Widow movie. So get ready for it.
Great,
but
just can't wait.
I gotta tell you, man. After watching The Winter Soldier last night, I was already looking forward to Black Widow. We're gonna rent it on. I think it's one of the premiere ones where you're gonna have to pay $30 to watch it at home.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus. We're gonna do that though. We're gonna go all out, man. Popcorn, nachos.
I might go to a theater. And watch it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to a theater in a long time. So
I've got kids,
kind of fun.
I'm not taking them inside like that yet. So
no, you're doing the right thing. But I might go to a movie.
I don't
think my wife will go.
Like, that might be how far I'm gonna take this. Watching the movie at home is.
Wait. You know, is soft drinks a special treat?
We don't stock them in the house. That's like a outside of the house thing usually. Because I'm
curious about other rules you guys have. That's not here nor there. At one point
in my life, I was ridiculously addicted to Dr. Pepper. So,
everybody in the South was. Are you kidding me? Like I was addicted to Mountain Dew. Like, that was it. That was what you did.
Right.
I'm really surprised we're not all dead.
Yeah. I saw some documentary on people. No, it was Jamie Oliver. You know, the chef from England.
Yeah.
He was doing something. And there's this one town where people drink so much Mountain Dew. It's like their main liquid, and it's their mouth is completely rotten. It's like a town in Tennessee or something like that.
Yeah, you're pouring chemicals into your body. Like a soda once a month is great. A soda once a day is you're gonna die.
Yeah, this was like they were drinking it for breakfast. They were probably clearing a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew and then some every day.
It's just anyway.
But yeah,
That's
I
so far
was
away
really
from.
close. So
That's not
anyway,
what Captain America would do.
That's what. Yeah, you're right about that. Captain America would not do that. But
Hey kids,
we might take
I'm Captain America.
I might have
Don't
some
drink.
Dr. Pepper in the house for Black Widow.
Yeah, little treat. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I'm looking forward to it too. And I've already seen a lot of comic book stuff that we can talk about, so it'll be good.
Good. All right. Time for the post-credit scene.
Yep.
All right. I don't know if I should ask all my questions up front or one by one.
Ask them all up front.
All right. So yeah, I'll just tell you what all my questions are. Who are these guys in the post-credit scene? I have no idea who they are. I really have no idea how they got Loki's staff. So they have like most of the tip of Loki's staff from earlier movies with the blue stone that I don't remember the name of inside of it. And then at the end they have Wanda Maximoff and her brother, and I don't know how they have them either. So help me out.
This is leading into Iron Man. No, this is leading to Avengers: Age of Ultron. So this is leading into that.
Okay.
And the staff we already know has the mind gem in it. The guy is called Baron Strucker. Baron von Strucker. He's a Hydra, Hydra leader. And we already know that they use the mind gem to create the powers for the twins. But we do know from WandaVision that that's not 100% true. Wanda had some kind of latent powers before the experiments based off of WandaVision. And yeah, it's the twin. It's Pedro and Wanda, and they volunteered for the experiment, so they've been experimented on, and that's their powers.
Okay.
So, but we know all that later. Like we learn all that stuff in Age of Ultron. So
these guys are like a splinter cell of Hydra.
They're Hydra. It's not a splinter cell. It's Hydra. It's just like the European branch kind of deal.
Okay.
And so like while Hydra is all mixed in the Shield, you have another group of Hydra people run these experiments, and we also know, and it makes sense too, because if Hydra is in Shield, and the staff was given to Shield, then Shield would give the staff to the European guys to run this experiment. So it's like it makes a lot of sense.
Got the staff. Okay.
And all that stuff is kind of it's a little cleanup from Endgame. They kind of explained a lot of this stuff too. So I'm using all the different stuff from the other movies to clean this all up. But yeah, we'll see these guys again in Age of Ultron. Is that the next movie?
I don't know.
That we have to talk about?
Let's see.
No, it can't be.
The next movie is Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. I can't wait for that. It's a lot. I'm going to have to do some crazy homework. There's so much going on with that. But that's going to be a lot of fun. I like the cosmic stuff more than I like the stuff on the ground. For some reason, I like the cosmic stuff more. But anyway, yeah, I think this post-credit scene is definitely doing a good job threading those needles from one movie to another. And this was probably one of my favorite post-credit scenes.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I was just like, I was full of questions. I had no idea what was going on. So glad you could tell me. Even with like all the recent movies we've been watching and watching, WandaVision. I mean, I at least recognized that was Wanda. But other than that, I had no idea what was going on in that post-credit scene.
It's a lot to keep track of. It's a lot to keep track of. And there's some things that I completely forget too. So don't feel like you're by yourself on that. But yeah, and the bad thing is we won't even go back to that for a couple movies because we gotta do Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we'll do Black Widow, and then we'll go back to Age of Ultron next. So we have there's a lot of stuff we'll have to. So don't forget the stuff we just talked about with the post-credit scene before the next movie.
Okay, I can remember it by the next movie. I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not great with faces either. So I had to pause the scene and ask my wife, "Is that Elizabeth Olsen?" Because it looked kind of like her, but I wasn't really sure. And my wife confirmed.
It looks just like If you're a comic geek and you see the twins there, you're just freaking out because they're a big part of Avengers and X-Men. So it's kind of awesome that they put them in the movie.
Do you think our brother is going to make a comeback in the MCU?
No,
Okay.
no, and people should stop trying to get that to happen. It's not.
I didn't know people were trying to get that to happen.
Oh yeah, people want Quicksilver back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe real bad, but it's not going to happen.
Okay. All right, that's it. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think we covered it pretty good. This is the longest podcast we've done. I think
it definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good movie to do it. Lots of stuff going on with Winter Soldier.
Yeah, the previous record holder was our podcast for Captain America: The First Avenger, and knowing how much you and I both look like Captain America, I had a feeling this one might break the record.
Yeah, and I think Guardians of the Galaxy will be along too. Yeah, I think that these movies are slowly becoming more and more intertwined with the comics, so we're going to see a lot more stuff like this. Like it's going to get more in depth, and hopefully, I can do a good job answering these questions. At least I hope so.
Right. All right. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy's up next. Watch that before you listen to us.
So where can people listen to this podcast, Mike?
Anywhere you can go to find podcasts. I found a new place that you can listen to us just the other day. So if you have your favorite app that you listen to podcasts in, chances are you can find us there. If not, let me know at Super Sideshow on Twitter, and I'll fix that. But yeah, we're everywhere you can listen to podcasts, and we're also on YouTube.
My favorite place to listen to us is YouTube. Sometimes
you kind of go back and forth between YouTube and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, I think YouTube's my favorite right now. I think YouTube is just a great place for me to waste a lot of time. So it's like, and we're on there, so it's like neat, a good time waster.
Right. I like Apple Podcasts a lot. On Apple Podcasts, you can follow, rate, and review us. And if you would rate and review us, that would really help out. It makes a big difference, although you probably don't think that it does. It actually makes a huge difference. And I've actually been listening in Spotify some these days too. It's actually pretty good app for listening to podcasts in. So if you haven't tried that, check it out.
Yeah. And also, we're on Twitter as well. I think, did you already say that? I'm on Twitter, J Slacks. Hit me up if you have any comment related.
You should note that it's not the letter J Slacks. It's instead
JAYSLACKS.
Right. Okay. And I'm on Twitter too as MIKBRE. Like I said, the show is on Twitter as at Super Sideshow. So you can tweet at us at all three of those addresses or take your pick.